What's great, family? Coach Tab here, man, and this is part 2 of the Free Me From video series. So before we get into the message for today, let's jump into a little review of last week. Last week, we wanted to talk about how to find yourself, right? A lot of people are going out here, and I'm not even going to say a lot of people. I'm just saying you in general, the person that's listening to it that needs it. Trying to find yourself, trying to identify who you are, right? So some of the things we talked about last week were broken down into 3 components. 1, identify your max out. Be transparent and be truthful with yourself as you critically assess who you are. 2, identify weaknesses and strengths so then you can identify where you are lacking and how to improve it. And number 3 was face any challenges and problems that you identify as that weakness or as that lack area, right? So those are the 3 that we identified last week. So for this week, this is what we have. We're going to go right back into number 1. Number 1 was identifying your max. And what I did was I related that to those, I work with athletes. So I related it to maxing out in the weight room. In order to actually improve your skill set in the weight room, improve your strength, improve your speed, you have to know your max. The reason why athletes know their max is so they can identify ways to build up on their strength, build on their muscle, right? They have to have the max out to then know what percentage of weight they must use in order to do a workout and progress over an 8-week program, 12-week program, things like that, right? So that is why it's so important for them to max out. Now, again, this translates to real life because when we critically assess, right, we have to be true and transparent and have this moment with ourselves where we can find out and identify what it is that we need to fix or what it is about ourselves that we may have not taken the time out to actually know. All right, that's our max out. And it's so important that when you are maxing out, when you are critically assessing yourself to find out where you are so you can get where you're going. Again, when you are critically assessing yourself to find out where you are to get where you are going, you must realize in this moment, you cannot consider where somebody else is. In the weight room, you can't consider that if you are a DB, why you ain't lifting as much as a linebacker or a defensive lineman or offensive lineman. It just makes no sense, right? You need to identify your strengths and weaknesses and what is your strength for yourself. Their strength is theirs, right? The problem with most of us is that we want to look at other people and compare ourselves to them when we are trying to identify where we are in life. Somebody is always going to be in front of you and somebody is always going to be behind you. And if you are always considering other people and where they are, you're never going to be able to consider the fact that you are at this current place, right? You're never going to be present in the moment because you're always considering somebody else's moment. So when you are critically assessing, please do not get into this place of considering somebody else's moment, where they are in life, what they have in life, what material they've gained, what education level they have, what money they have, what finances they have. Because you are now assessing them and not you. You are now considering them and not you. You're comparing their situation to yours. And at this point, it makes no sense because you're never going to put yourself in this place where you can literally identify you, right? So, number 1, and only number 1, because we were reviewing from last week, is this. When you are critically assessing and you're taking that time to do that, like I said, get that pen, get that pad, jot it down. Do not be in a place of listening or paying attention to or comparing yourself to another person's situation and circumstance in life. It is so vital that you understand, to understand where I am or where you are, I must literally look at me, not someone else, not where they are. All right? Look at yourself. Don't sit here and think, well, where did they say I'm at? Or what are they doing right now? Where they at? And maybe I can find where I'm at. No, you need to be truthful with yourself and figure out where you are so you can get where you're going. You're not identifying where they are so you can get where you're going. You're identifying where you are to get where you're going. All right? Peace and love.